Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to our fourth podcast with Spectral Realm Investigators. I am Emily. We're going to start everything off tonight. Wow, what in... Oh, somebody left volume on when they were not supposed to leave volume on.
Who did that?
So we're going to start this off with Frankie. Frankie, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Frank. I'm part of Spectral Realms. I'm an investigator. I really don't know much to say other than working with you guys is great, and if you're interested, keep looking forward to what we have coming out.
Glenn, go ahead.
Yep, so resident skeptic here. Tyler's going to try and make a believer out of me one of these days.
It's going to happen.
Has to.
No, it's not going to happen.
It is.
Other than some evidence that I absolutely find incredibly questionable in some of our videos, but this is my armrest, miss.
Yes, but you're tapping.
This is why I'm not allowed to be the cameraman.
Hi, I'm Emily. I am the indigo child of the group. I am a co-leader along with Glenn and Tyler. And I have the, center stage for the podcast or whatever we're doing here. And that's pretty much it. Tyler?
I'm the leader and founder. Got everyone together. Scheduled the Selma Mansion and plenty more coming. And
Yep.
we're doing things.
Yep.
Absolutely.
I know June we have something booked coming up, and then a few more investigations leading up until the big one in November, which is really exciting. So
Very
it's good.
exciting.
Conjuring House. Stay tuned.
Yeah, the Conjuring House. That's going to be good. If you two end up, since we're talking about trigger objects or haunted objects tonight, since you two seem to be our trigger objects on walkthroughs and everything like that, it'll be really fun to have you on the
Glenn
Conjuring
dropped
House.
the bomb, so what we're doing tonight is we're discussing haunted objects. Thank you, Glenn. Appreciate that.
I segued into it real beautifully.
You really did. Thank you. So we are discussing haunted objects, and Glenn is right. Tyler and I seem to get a lot of action when it comes to any of our investigations, and quite frankly, it's not necessarily easy being a trigger object in a haunted location either.
It's exhausting.
It is incredibly exhausting, and it's like somebody's putting a straw into you and sucking your energy right out. I'm not going to use the analogy that I've told Tyler because that's going to get us banned.
Spot on.
Real quick, though. But really, that's what it is. So tonight we wanted to kind of break everything up and go into haunted objects. Mainly because our biggest investigation of this year is going to be at the Conjuring House, where there is she was there.
I don't know if she ever was there or not.
No?
Honestly. I don't think so. I think that was just its own separate thing. It was in the movie.
Okay. I've not seen the movie. We're at some point we're gonna do a watch party with everybody, and we're going to go over and see everything and watch all of the movies from front to back until the third one, right? Because there's only 2 that's out.
June 5th.
Yeah,
I think
so
is the day that we
June-
were planning, right?
Right. So June 5th we're planning on a watch party, which will probably be moved into our living room and all comfy and all that kind of stuff. And we're probably gonna have a drinking game. Just forewarning everybody. Every time I go under the blanket or I cower into Glenn, you guys have to take a shot. You'll most likely be dead by the first 15 minutes.
Yeah, we'll be slurring in the first 2 minutes, and then we will be alcohol poisoned, I think 15 minutes in.
Real quick. So anyway.
Just need to check something.
Oh, we've got somebody checking something.
I just want to make sure the AC is not coming in too loud through the...
By the looks of that
Yeah.
bar, it is.
Yeah.
Can anyone in the chat tell us if the AC is being disrupted?
Should
You
be
can.
an option to filter out white noise.
Well, all I'm gonna do is just actually quiet that down a little bit.
That's much better.
Yeah.
Sorry, it's incredibly hot in my house. We don't have central AC. We only have a unit that we can put into our window. So anyway, we're going to be discussing haunted objects today, mainly because that's going to be kind of what we're looking at when we go towards the Conjuring House, because I do know we want to stop and see that Annie doll, as well as I'm sure everybody's heard and seen of different objects that are in this world. Tyler, what do you want to start off
I
with?
mean, I'd love to see Annabelle, but
Yeah.
that museum is closed. Warren's
Oh, is
Occult
it?
Museum.
Oh, yeah, that is closed. You were talking about that the other night.
So sad.
My bad.
They're only doing what, online tours or like live tours, like through. Yeah, you can't.
Yeah,
do it in
if I'm
person.
gonna look at Annabelle, I'm looking at Annabelle.
Exactly. I don't want to see it through a camera or anything.
I know. I read something about if you go see Annabelle, you can't bring any like cameras or anything in it.
Right.
They'll all just die or break.
Well,
Well, if you look into her eyes, a lot of people get into very bad car accidents, apparently.
I mean, it just needs to be me driving unmedicated and we get into a really bad wreck. So there's that.
Let's not do that.
No? Squirrel.
Look, I don't want to be on the other side of the spirit box. I want to stay on this side of it for now.
We do have a running joke inside of... we have a couple running jokes, but one of them is if you piss off any of the co-leaders, the only way you're going to be communicating with us next is through the SB11 box. We would never hurt anybody. Let me just...
Unless it's Glenn, because he's a ginger and he doesn't have a soul anyway.
True. That's really true.
Smile. He just puts on.
Right? Like he just...
Like he's so proud of it.
That's right.
Sorry, he's eating his boomer candy.
Butterscotch. Yep.
Butterscotch candies. So, alright, so who wants to start off with their haunted objects and that realm?
Luckily, I don't think I've ever had one.
Well, I'm not saying that you've had one. I mean...
Well, no, I'm just saying,
Yeah.
like, I don't think I've ever had one and anything latched onto an object other than myself.
Yeah, that whole attachment thing's a real doozy. Watch your step. But, okay, so basically we wanted to go over all of this tonight, right? I think the first thing we can start off with is the haunted island in Mexico with all of the dolls.
That would be a fun one to go to.
You can't go to it. The government banned anybody
Yeah.
from travel.
Who said they have to know if we're going there?
Okay, so let's
Me?
put that on the internet.
No.
That's a
We
great
do
idea.
nothing illegal.
Yeah.
Just, by the way, thanks, Glenn.
I'm just saying it would be. That would, if we could, that would be a fun place to go.
I'm pretty
Because the dolls are creepy.
sure. Yeah.
Well, it's not just the dolls are creepy. The reason it happened is apparently a little girl died in front of this guy's house,
Mm-hmm.
and then to appease her restless spirit, he just started getting dolls. We got a message in.
Yep. Are any of you religious at all? At all out of curiosity? If so, do you think it plays a role? For example, you're protected from negative energies, etc.
I'll start this one off because Tyler and I were just talking about this about a half hour ago. So, I'm
That I'm thinking
religious in the sense that there's a spiritual something going on. I don't know about above and beyond. The other day, somebody told me that he had an actual discussion with Jesus when he had passed away from an accident, and they brought him back. And he said, do you believe in Jesus? My exact response was, I guess you're going to tell me why I should. Because it's just, I don't know. I don't have a lot of a religious background. I was baptized Presbyterian. We went to a bunch of born-again Christian churches when I was a little older. Never really did anything further in terms of religion. I wouldn't even be able to tell you what the Bible verses are, like what the different chapters or anything is. All I know is it's a Bible. There's a Luke in there, a John, something, I don't know. So,
well, not for nothing. You do the archangels and things like that, like your natural protectors and.
right, well,
stuff
that
like
was
that.
stuff that I was interested in.
Because I'm just tying that into. Let me use this. Let me use the example. The power of Christ compels you.
So, okay, so here's something really weird that happened. A couple weeks ago, I was laying in bed in the middle of the night. My husband's dead asleep. The dogs are all dead asleep. And in the bedroom, my bedroom got incredibly dark. And then all of a sudden in my left ear, it felt like gushing wind was coming through. And it was deafening. I became paralyzed at that moment. And I realized the only thing that I could do to verbally do anything was moan. And that's not going to wake him up. Believe me, you can set off firecrackers next to him and he's not going to wake up.
Yeah, you could fight me like an
Yeah.
MMA fighter, and I still sleep right through.
Not even a joke. So, in my head, I started saying, this is the body of Christ. You cannot come in. This is the body of Christ. You do not belong here. And I kept repeating it, which is weird because I have never in my life ever had to say anything like that. But for some weird reason, I had to say it. And I did. And a couple seconds later, the room lightened up and the wind in my ear stopped, and I was able to move. I don't know what it was, what happened, and I don't know. I would say that there is a higher being. I have yet to talk to him. I have yet to interact with him. If he is there, then okay, so be it. I believe that there are angels. I believe that there are archangels. I believe there's demonic spirits. I believe in the devil. So with that train of thought, I should believe in a higher divine entity. Tyler?
No, I'm not really religious at all. I mean, I'll say those prayers, especially when there's an attachment, but I think going forward, the guardian angel one's happening on the reg because attachments are not fun. Don't do it. Try not to. You don't have a choice. You don't really have a choice.
Don't do it. Tyler told me we can't do it.
Don't do it.
I'm gonna
put
go.
an image in my mind like somebody's out there with a fishing pole. Oh, almost caught the attachment.
I'm gonna go into our next investigation
when
when
he
I
said
feel
that,
something.
I
I'm like,
thought
don't
drugs.
you dare do it.
Don't do drugs.
Don't do it.
Don't do it, kids.
Don't do it, kids.
Frankie,
if anyone
what
offers you
about
free
you?
attachments, don't try them.
I wish it was that easy.
I was never like super religious, but as of recently, I've been getting more into the Norse religions, and I've been practicing Norse pageantry, and continuing like the old Vikings used to, because that goes along with like I love mythology and stuff like that. Norse Greek mythology, I love that, and so I've been practicing their ways to understand it more. But otherwise, there's no big religion in my life that I can fight about, that I'll argue about. I think everybody to each their own, pretty much. Everybody has their own religion, and it exists in their own way.
I believe in the Spectral Realm religion.
We're not starting a
Okay,
religion.
hold on. We're getting a little big for our britches.
Yeah,
I think
we're not-
somebody
that's-
needs to sit down
It was
a
a
little
joke.
bit. Yeah, it better be a joke.
I don't know. I don't have enough knowledge to start a religion.
I don't think any of us at this table are interested in starting
you see
a
the
religion.
collection.
That's also
Well,
valid.
You just know it's not
Apparently
just
my
oh my
13th
goodness.
great grandfather in the 1500s, he pretended like he cared about religion. And he took all the money from the churches and everything like that. He just walked around with the
He
collection.
took a lot
plate.
more than churches.
Well, there's a lot of stuff that King James wrote charges against him for that I can't say on live TV here. So, and I guess I'll follow up with no. I don't practice any religions. I don't believe in any of that stuff.
Hence, he's the skeptic.
Yeah, it was introduced to me when I was a young child, and I remember at one point I used to go to like the youth groups and stuff like that with my friend Brian. You know Brian.
Yeah.
And I think the one thing that convinced that, like, all of a sudden, I was questioning religion up until that point. I was about 14 years old. I was like, open-minded to it and everything like that. But the one thing I asked one of the counselors there, I was like, well, you keep talking about human spirits. What about other animals and everything? I was like, I think, if
All dogs.
dogs, I was like, if dogs and other animals, lead great lives, they don't sin as bad or as ruthless as we do. What about their souls? And he told me, well, cats and animals and dogs and everything don't have souls. So right there, I was like, well, then their religion's not for me.
I can dispute that right now. Last night I was sitting in my room. My mom calls me out, and she says, I just saw your dog walk into your room. My dog passed away in 2018.
Well, here's a curious thing. We put Evie down in December 12th, actually, of 2020. There were times where within 2 months of her passing, I swear I saw her go around corners and things like that, like her little fluffy Pekingese tail prancing around. And it's like, I don't know if it's because I was so used to seeing her and having her presence in the house, or if it's possible she was visiting, but I swear there's times where I'm feeding the dogs, and what she used to like to do is, as I'm scooping the food in the dogs, and I give them a little water from the sink and everything so it's easier for them to digest, as I'm feeding them, she used to like to hop up and either punch me in the back of the legs and trip me, or she'd close the dishwasher, or whatever her little ritual was. But she always had this very distinct whine when she would do that. And there's so many times where I would hear that whine as I'm going around collecting the food bowls to feed during feeding time, whether morning or night. And then, of course, her barking spot out in the corner. She loved just looking at the neighbors and whoop, 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 woo, 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 doing her little bark. And she would, every once in a while, we're just sitting in the kitchen, we hear woo, 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 and none of my other dogs make that distinct bark that she makes. And
No,
we're like,
she
was
really-
that Evie? So it's...
I mean, Tyler, even after we passed, Evie passed away, Tyler came. He's like, I swear to God, I saw her at the corner. Like, she's here. Like, I see her. I've seen her a lot in my dreams, more than anything. I think that was more or less. She was my dog. Like, I had her before I met Glenn.
She and I, we
Had a love-hate relationship.
coexisted. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah, coexist. That's what we'll say. But she was my dog. Like, she was my companion before I met Glenn, and she had been with me for the last 13 years of her life. And she would come to me in my dreams, or the one night, I swear to God, I saw her walk from, like, in here, like, right where I'm sitting, into our sitting room, which I'm looking directly at past the camera.
Yep.
And, you know, it's just, you know your animals have souls. Like, you know. I've been to psychics where they tell me they see my childhood dog sitting next to me. Or my childhood dog is sitting next to my grandmother, who is also passed. And it's just something that I know to be real. Like, I know my animals have a soul. I know, you know, I'll see them in the afterlife or wherever that may be. Especially my horses. My horse I just put down almost 2 months ago, and I know he's around. I know he was around in the barn. That's just... I think I could agree. If somebody says that animals don't have souls, then that's not the type of religion that I'm looking for.
That's what killed it for me. Like that, I was already on the fence leaning towards there's no afterlife, but when
Right.
he said something like that, I'm like,
Yeah.
that doesn't make any sense. Either if there is some kind of divine spirit created everything and controls everything, it's not going to favor just mankind.
Right.
It should be the last thing it favors.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean,
like
we're
we're
flawed.
the worst
We're
part of
incredibly
this
flawed.
experiment here is us on this planet, and you're telling me that it's just us that go to heaven or hell or however it works. There's multiple planets, infinite number of planets. You can't tell me that there's not other life out there.
Right.
Yeah. And I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure the Bible has the verse of the Rainbow Bridge
Yeah.
that says, when your pets pass on, you will meet them again in heaven, crossing the Rainbow Bridge.
So that goes to show you that the youth counselor didn't study his Bible.
So I remember right after I put my horse Dakota down, and you have another.
Oh,
Yeah, I mean, if ghosts of people do exist, does that mean heaven and hell would not exist? Since people's souls would either go one right away, unless the ghosts are just souls in purgatory,
like what Catholics believe.
So, with the case of seeing spirits around, it's not always that they don't go immediately. It's usually that they have unfinished business here, that they want to contact
Or
people.
it's a tragic event.
Yeah.
A lot of people who have been to Gettysburg see that there's a lot of tragedy that happens, and that would be where you get your residual energy from. So if you have a spirit that you see, you know, marching, or you're hearing, if they're a blacksmith and you're hearing the hammer hit the metal, you know, that could be a residual energy that is actually haunting that location. So it's not something that's intelligent and it knows that it's here. It might have been such a tragic situation and violent situation that their spirit is just there and they have no idea that they're actually passed on. There's a lot of history and scientific reasoning behind all of that, which I'm sure we could pull in another show and go fully in detail between intelligent and residual.
Maybe next week.
Yeah, because that's a huge topic, and there's a lot of information on both sides, and you have people who say that every spirit is residual, not necessarily. But again, we'll get into that in a different point. We might need to
You're gonna need mute.
Nope, I think
No, they're quiet enough.
so. All right.
Back to haunted objects.
Yeah, back to haunted objects. Thanks for the question. Keep them coming if you guys have anything else that you'd like to join in with.
Oh, by the way, hi Ava.
Hi, Alba.
I have
Ava, sorry.
you say the energy is haunting that location, and they're actually conscious energies like you or me, or are they?
Like echoes are simply replayed over and over again. So that just touches base.
Yeah, I
back
mean,
on
it
what
could
we were
be
just talking
both.
about.
I mean, you might have a spirit there that they didn't want to move on. They're unfinished business, like Frankie said before, and they're completely aware of where they are, what they're doing. They know they're responding to you. But then there's other locations like Gettysburg, or pretty sure any big battlefield
Right.
is going to have a lot of that energy where they don't know that
Right.
they
Unresolved.
passed on, and they're just kind of living their life in the afterlife.
Any historical place pretty much has residual energy left in it that
Right.
makes them.
And you're
continue.
also looking, like, you're going to look at your location to where you are. You're going to look at what natural objects are there. Rocks are a big time
Anchor.
for anything residual. You're going to look at water. That's how, one of the theories of how entities travel is through water. So you really have to look at the area of which you're in. So, of course, Gettysburg being in the middle of fields, in the middle of PA, well, not middle of PA, but in PA, you've got a lot that would absorb the energy that was happening.
And you even have the monuments that they built there during the war, like the trenches and the barricades
Right.
and stuff like that.
I forget the woman's house who passed away from the battle, but her house, she was, I think her final passing, or her body was kept in her basement where it's nothing but solid rock down there. And I believe Ghost Adventures has even done a investigation down there. For those of you who don't know and joining us, I have 5 dogs and they don't know how to be quiet during any of this.
He went outside.
We'll become professional at some point. I just don't know when.
Yeah, we're balling on a budget.
We are really balling on a stupid budget. So anyway, Ghost Hunters did an investigation there, and they got a lot of evidence as to what was going on. But again, evidence on a TV show doesn't necessarily mean to me that it's a haunted location. I have to go there to actually experience it myself.
Didn't they even do the cannonball house in Gettysburg? The one where they shot a cannonball straight through the wall? And it shot like a perfectly round hole.
I think I remember seeing something about that, but I don't know what show it was on.
Because I know I was at that house and you could feel that there were things there. Like, it was a very heavy energy.
Right. Yep.
Like, not for nothing, when we went even to the Selma mansion, there were things that we didn't know had happened that we caught while reviewing evidence and watching two videos we put up and everything like that. As we're going through that's stuff that if I saw that on TV, I wouldn't have believed most of it unless I was actually there. What?
You used the word believe.
Yeah.
He wouldn't have believed.
You wouldn't have believed if you weren't there.
You keep pushing for it so hard.
Is it happening? I think it's happening.
I feel like that was as much of a saying I'm becoming a believer as you could have said without saying it.
All right, well, let me say what was real. I wouldn't have believed it was really recorded and happened in real time versus it being staged like I think most of these TV shows are.
Well, like I said, I need to experience it in order to say that it's real. I'm not just going to go to a location and somebody tell me that it's haunted and leave and say, no, it's haunted, unless I actually 100% have something happen. And believe me, I am fully aware the Selma Mansion is haunted. There is no doubt in my mind, no doubt that place is haunted.
If that place isn't haunted, no place is haunted.
Right.
That's exactly how that place
right.
felt.
So, I don't know if there's any, I don't think there was any haunted objects at the Selma Mansion that I know of.
Well, the house itself could count.
Yeah.
Unless, of course, we stick with the portal theory, too.
No, I'm talking when haunted objects, I'm talking strictly something is attached to
A doll or...
Yeah.
Like a child's toy or something.
Like Annabelle.
Right.
Not a whole house. That's a haunted location.
Well, hold on. Everybody talks about Annabelle being haunted, and I'm speaking from a point of ignorance here, because I don't understand what it is.
I don't think anybody does.
What?
Yo.
Love you, Glenn.
He's trying to get my goat. So, what is attached to Annabelle, or
It's
what
a
what is it
spirit of
haunted?
some form. So,
What makes it haunted?
I think that was a demonic entity.
yeah,
Yeah.
a demonic entity
Um,
was looking for something to get itself into, and it chose Annabelle.
So it chose a little ginger doll
So-
to be attached to.
I did,
Yeah, because gingers have no souls,
Exactly.
so
Oh,
it's easy
it
to
was
jump
easy.
into.
off the top of my head, I don't know how accurate
You
The
know what?
Conjuring actually portrayed that.
Take a look.
But the way that they explained it was this demonic entity wanted to possess one of the people living in this home.
Okay.
So in order to get the buy-in from these people, it was trying to get permission to possess Annabelle. I put that in quotes because a demonic spirit can't possess something that is not living. It can't possess an inanimate object. So by pretending to move into the doll, it got their buy-in to start manifesting more and then draining their energy more. Once
Okay.
it gets the buy-in, it becomes so much more powerful. And then its ultimate goal was to get into the people.
All right.
But instead, it got attached to the doll more. Well, you got us a history here.
So I have like a Wikipedia history, however you want
Like
to.
I said, I don't know how accurate that part
We'll check,
was
maybe
for the
it's
portrayal, but
So
Encyclopedia.
Annabelle is an allegedly haunted Raggedy Ann doll, haunted in an occult or housed in an occult museum of the paranormal investigators Ed and Lorraine Warren. A character based on the doll is a reoccurring antagonist in the Conjuring universe. According to the Warrens, a student nurse was given the doll in 1970. They said the doll was behaving strangely and had a psychic medium told the student that the doll was inhabited by a spirit of a deceased girl named Annabelle. The student and her roommate tried to accept and nurture the spirit-possessed doll, and the doll repeatedly exhibit malicious and frightening behavior. It was at this point that the Warrens say that they were first contacted, moving their doll to the museum after pronouncing it a demonically possessed item. The doll remains in a glass box at the Warrens Occult Museum in Monroe, Connecticut. Texas State University Assistant Professor of Religious Studies Joseph Laycock says that the skeptics have dismissed the Warrens Museum full of off-the-shelf Halloween junk, dolls, toys, books, you name it, any kind of store. Laycock calls the Annabelle legend an interesting case study in the relationship between pop culture and paranormal folklore, and speculates the demonic doll tropes popularized by the films such as Child Play, Doll's Dearest, and The Conjuring likely emerged from the early legends surrounding Robert the Doll, which is one that we were going to bring up too.
Annabelle on steroids.
Annabelle on steroids, exactly. As well as a Twilight Zone Season 5, Episode 6 titling Living Doll, released 5 years prior to the Warrens' story. Laycock suggests the idea of a demonically possessed doll allows modern demonologists to find supernatural evil in the most banal and domestic of places. So they're not classifying it as a demonic
But I thought they
entity.
did. Didn't they say that it was a demonic entity?
Yeah, right in the beginning.
Right, so, but it
But
started...
it's assumptions. It's not
Right,
real.
it's
Oh, okay.
just an assumption because it starts off saying that it was some kind of paranormal...
It also
child
said it could.
spirit.
Yeah, it could
So
be
they just didn't fully
a
classify
child.
it.
No, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think everyone in their mind thinks that's a demonic entity.
Right.
And I do want to thank Kevin.
Yeah.
That popped up on my phone because it was a Facebook comment.
Yep.
I'm trying to help Glenn monitor from over here. So if you see me looking down, that's pretty much all I'm doing. But yeah, I appreciate that, and I think Emily, Frankie, and Glenn would as well. But they basically said, "Love watching you guys."
Aw, thank you.
That actually
Thank you.
popped up before it said that you were watching. So, no, we really appreciate that. That's awesome.
And
Absolutely.
like we say, share it to your friends. Invite
Yeah,
them.
share, comment, like. We're on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and we'll be figuring out some kind of pay schedule or something for like donations of whatnot. Because as I said before, we are balling on a really tight budget. Anyway, back to our
Haunted object.
haunted objects.
So I do have a question on haunted objects.
Sure.
Shocker, I know. So, what is it precisely that makes an object haunted? Is it specifically just an entity that attaches to it?
Well,
is
yeah.
it the energies that
I
are
mean,
around
I would
the
say
object and
I
where
would
it
say
was placed?
it's the entity itself.
So haunted objects are strictly haunted by an entity of some sort.
I was gonna say a mix of both, because it could be the energies that are bringing the spirit to the object, and that's why I was thinking it's a mix of both.
I mean, you gotta look. It could very well be both, because you have to look at it like when people get an attachment. There's really no rhyme or reason for it. It just kind of
Happens.
yeah. They pick who they like, and they're like, you.
It's like a lost dog that follows you home, except for
Right.
Unfortunately.
Unfortunately. much more malicious than that.
Yeah, I wish it was a dog. Like
Yeah.
a real one.
Yeah, not like a demonic hellhound.
So once an object is haunted or possessed or whatever we're classifying it as, can you remove the attachment from it, or like what?
Do
It's-
exorcism. And
It's a lot harder to do with objects than it is
I was gonna
people.
say
yeah.
because they
Why
would
is
have
that?
tried to do something. Because I mean, you have as a human, you
There's
have
no
a
soul. There's nothing.
Yeah, there's
An
n-
inanimate object has nothing to fight and push back. So the Warrens in their occult museum, they would get that room exercised once a month, and nothing was removed from those objects.
Yeah.
Which is just crazy when you think about that. That once a month, minimally, they had someone go in there and clean it out,
But
and it was still
dark and heavy.
chilling.
I think that was also for the museum's sake of having visitors, so nobody got an attachment while they were there.
Well, yeah. I mean, even in Zach Bagans' museum, you're not able to like touch certain things. You could walk past certain things. There's even signs that say
Yeah.
"Don't look directly at this thing."
Mhm.
You have
He
to sign
has-
waivers.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
have to sign waivers. He has the He doesn't have Annabelle. What was the other one we just mentioned?
Robert.
Robert. He has Robert, I
I know.
believe.
I think
That's
he
the
does.
little sailor thing.
Yeah,
looking-
that's
yeah.
the sailor looking one.
Yep, I think Robert is there.
Oh.
But there's been stories of people that would go in there and then, like, around certain objects, just them explaining, they completely pass out, hit the floor.
Mm-hmm.
Really?
Yep.
Because they get drained. Yeah.
That happened.
on a dime.
I was in Vegas 2 years ago for a trade show at my last job. And just before I went out there, and I had planned to go to the museum. Just before I went out there was a video of a lady who just passes out. But you see this orb come down, like go right into her head and then jet off
I
towards
remember
the
you showing me
camera.
that video.
Right. I was dead set on going. And the last night I was supposed to go, I ended up working in my hotel room until 10:30 that night, and my flight to leave was like at midnight. So I was not able to get there, and I desperately want to go and see it. But yeah, there's been a lot of those situations at that museum.
So I'm just going to touch on two comments. Frank's dad's watching while they're on the road.
Yeah,
How you
they're
guys
driving.
doing?
Appreciate it.
And
careful.
The second one is, why can't you just burn or
Destroy such objects.
Before we get to that, I just wanted to say I want to put Annabelle and Robert in the room and see what happens.
No.
You are... No.
Just in the same
no.
room.
No.
Nobody in there, just a locked same
No.
room.
That's a
I
hard
don't see the harm in doing that.
But they might end each other.
So, I mean, burning the objects...
Doesn't
Yeah,
really
it's not
work.
like
I don't-
supernatural. Pour salt on them.
Yeah,
Or anything like that.
no.
That might just free it to go somewhere else, which is
Yeah, and quite frankly,
more troublesome,
mhm.
honestly, because then it's gonna go to whatever's right there.
Mhm.
So let's say I go burn an object. Oh, now I made a new friend that I'm gonna be very,
Very close
annoying.
with for the rest of your life.
So
Pretty
is,
much.
is there anything recorded where there was an Annabelle or something that was extremely haunted, well known haunted, and whatever entity was attached to that left and went and attached to somebody?
Most likely. There's probably
I
something
don't.
out there.
Offhand, I don't know.
I'm sure the spirits were very capable, or in Annabelle's case, most likely demonic, very capable of messing with people, following them, and then just reverting right back to Annabelle. I'm sure that has happened, but I can't say for sure because I honestly don't know.
Okay. Any idea why something? But I mean, it's all conjecture at this point. But is there any reason why something would be like, oh, I like you for like 2 days, and then go back to the object or something
No.
like that?
That's really just luck of the draw.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lucky
alright.
me and Emily. Yay.
Yeah.
I think it also depends on the person. Because
Well, yeah. I mean, if you're more open and you don't have the right protection, much, this is going to be lewd, much like a condom, you're going to catch something. Right? Like, so. I can't believe I just used that reference.
Fair point, though.
But truly, it is. Like, you're going to get a spiritual STD at that point, right? Like, I hate to put it that way, but it really, that is what it would be. Because you're.
It bounces from person to person.
It bounces from person to person, but you're also having this weird feeling the entire time of your energy draining. For me, I was freezing cold, could not get warm. I was sitting right here at the table with a heater directly on me, and I was not getting warm.
So, I don't know if either one of you have the answers to this, but this is another one of my questions, listening to what you were just saying.
Are you a viewer or a team member?
I'm the skeptic.
I mean, he's feeding us questions.
No, I'm just messing with you.
I'm supposed to be skeptical of you guys. Darn it. So, spirits, entities, demons, malevolent entities, whatever we want to call them, feed off of human energies, right?
Mm-hmm.
What do they get from being attached from an object?
Power.
Yeah.
Over.
Unlimited power. I mean, really, there's nothing stopping them.
Yeah.
Because as a person, you have a soul. You can fight back. You could say, you're not doing this. You're going to put up a proverbial wall.
Yeah,
right?
fight.
Also,
Right.
if they're so like Annabelle, the story, the nurse was given this Annabelle doll as a gift. It manipulated them to believe it was a young child that they wanted to
Right.
help.
Mm-hmm.
At that point, it manipulated you. It got your buy-in to let it stay there. Now it has power and it's not leaving.
Right.
And then it's going to drain you until it can get in you.
So, I guess ultimately what it is, if it can't attach to you and drain you directly, it's going to find another avenue or a course to
It's
get
going to
in.
do whatever it
And
can.
when it attaches to an object or something, we'll call it an anchor, like I said before, rocks and everything like that. It finds an anchor to stick to, and then that's where it's like it's almost forcing you to interact with it until you acknowledge it or the buy-in, like you said.
Basically, yeah.
Yeah, and then that's when it starts feeding off.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And I don't want like our viewers to think, because we're talking a lot about like demons right now.
Yeah.
They're very rare. More times than not, a haunting is not demonic.
It's just a more interesting topic when you talk about these
Yeah,
things.
and that's why the movies, they feed off that. It's like,
Mhm.
you don't want to go watch a movie about a spirit that's friendly, like Casper. Some people do, but like I'm not
Casper
gonna.
the Friendly
I'm not gonna
Ghost.
go
Casper's
watch.
a good movie, though.
But like, you're not gonna go watch Casper as a horror movie.
Right.
These like James Wan, horror genius. I love the guy. Did the first two Conjuring movies, and it wouldn't be the same if it was they did one of the Warren cases that was not demonic.
Mhm.
That's gonna be so level.
Right.
Yeah. People go into this thing looking to watch a movie and get scared and a thrill, basically. Thrill
Mhm.
chasers.
Poltergeist and demons are what's
Yeah.
gonna give it to you. And look at the movie literally called Poltergeist, and
Right.
then all these other movies off of demonic entities.
Poltergeists
So then,
are more common than demons because they're more just spirits that
It's
have,
just a loud ghost.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
That's
all
what it is.
is that all it is? It's just
Yeah.
That's
like,
the translation of
I want my
Poltergeist.
equal
Yeah.
attention case
Yep.
kind of ghost.
So
like, pay
yeah, so
attention
you're
to me,
looking
here I
at,
am.
but it's not just a loud ghost. It's ghosts who have been here for a certain amount of time where they're not finishing whatever their business is, and they technically start to go insane.
Mhm.
So they're in the spirit realm's version of crazy.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean that's essentially what it is. But like the literal definition of poltergeist is loud ghost, and the reason why they're called poltergeists is because they're the ones that
Who
are
are
banging on things, knocking
Right.
things over,
Mhm.
pushing things, and that's where the term comes from. But like Emily said, they're usually at their time as a spirit is going off the deep
So what
end.
differentiates a ghost that will interact, like when you say, hey, if that's you, can you knock with me or something along the lines, versus a poltergeist? At what point does that line get drawn in the sand saying
I
this
believe, and I could be very wrong for this, but I believe what it is if there's a spirit that comes back to haunt a certain location, they're back from the other side. Like they have an option of going back and forth. They're not just stuck in limbo. I believe the poltergeist is something stuck in limbo
They
that's
can't
not
cross.
yet that they can't cross.
See, to me, a
So-
poltergeist sounds like a spirit, like you said, he went insane, but really deranged is more the correct term for what's
Yep.
happening
Right,
to him.
right.
Because there's no avenue for them ever, more or less.
It's pretty much, imagine walking in endless darkness. That's how they go insane.
okay.
And then they just, over time, get aggressive and more aggressive and aggressive.
Right.
Trying to like force something to
Yeah.
happen, more or
Exactly.
We got another comment.
So, also, can't these entities use mirrors as gateways, gateways/doorways too? I can't take my eyes off that big mirror behind you, just in case.
So actually, yes, they can.
That's
There's
very true.
Yeah,
100%. That's
there's-
actually why they tell you not to sleep with a mirror facing you. It's because your soul can get kind of lost in the dream world, I guess,
Right.
and it could go into the mirror, and then it's a whole lot of chaos.
and,
that sounds like folklore to me.
Not necessarily. So that movie, The Ring, where the girl comes out of the TV, there's some kind of not scientific, but belief that can actually happen as well.
Well, I think I said it before. It's like I think Michael Keaton was in a movie called White Noise, where his wife passed away,
Right.
and he kept a video camera recording the white noise on a TV, trying to capture souls or ghosts or something through it.
And with mirrors, in some religions, they believe that when you have a funeral, you put covers over the mirrors so they can find their way to the other side instead of getting trapped inside of a mirror.
Right.
Oh, that's interesting.
Which is why in the earlier times they would cover mirrors in homes.
Never knew
When
that.
they had funerals, they would cover them.
Okay. And has there been any kind of investigations that kind of confirm this, or is this just superstition?
I don't know.
Yeah, I'm
I
not
don't
sure
know.
by the way.
That's hard to confirm. I mean, that's...
Yeah.
I mean, it's got to be based off of something.
If you think about Bloody Mary, you look in a mirror and say Bloody Mary 3 times.
It's more of an urban legend to me, like
But-
Candyman and things like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm not gonna F around and find out either, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
But if they are,
We ain't about that life here.
if they are using mirrors as portals, then that's a very valid point
Right.
of the portal phenomenon.
You think that's maybe the mirrors are in a way about an easier way, not my soul, but an easier way to look back and forth than somebody's soul, like they get a different glimpse of you, the real you versus a mirror.
People always say that the gateway to the soul is through the eyes. And so, viewing through them, you can either see through somebody or somewhere else.
What do you want? Yep. Okay. So.
So we're gonna so speaking about these, paranormal boxes or entities or mirrors or anything like that, there is no definitive proof, right? Like everything that we talk about here is all up for what's the saying? Conjecture.
Yeah, it's all open to
Yeah,
conjecture.
it's all open to conjecture because nobody has 100% answer on this, and I just want to
That's
put it
our
out.
goal, though, isn't it?
Well, yes, as paranormal investigators, it is absolutely our goal to do that. But I just want to say in preference that if there's something that we're saying that is different to something that somebody knows, we're not trying to devalue your view or your opinion or anything like that. It's just the knowledge that we have.
Yeah, and speaking from personal experience.
Right, speaking from personal experiences, all the work that we've put into our own videos or whatever we've watched, because if you're like me, you've watched hundreds and hundreds of hours of these paranormal TV shows. 9 times out of 10, they all have the same thing. If you watch anything on the Travel Channel, they all pretty much go to the same locations, and they're getting pretty much the same information and the same interaction. So
A little bit of wash, rinse, and repeat going on.
right, so if it is actually happening, then that's where you can say, yes, it's absolutely paranormal. But again, until it happens to me, I can't just go out and say it's something.
So, with that being said, what would be like the best piece of evidence that you would catch that you would be like, all right, this is definitively something paranormal. This
On
is my
TV
proof."
or us?
Us.
I can't talk about that yet.
Okay.
I would say the best piece of evidence you could catch is a full body apparition.
Yeah.
That's probably top tier of evidence list.
Yeah, I would say full body apparition either, or full shadow.
Yeah,
Too.
that too.
I'm gonna say it depends on the situation, location, and scenario.
That's also very true.
Fair
Okay.
point.
Because, I mean, if you could get something on camera being knocked over, there's nothing over there.
Right.
That's great. But if it's by a window, it's like, okay,
What
try and do it
draft-
again.
Right.
You know, you gotta. Then at that point, it's debunking. But if it's in a tight hallway, no windows, no
No
drafts,
access, right.
no slanted floors or anything,
Mm-hmm.
and then you witness something fall, I'd say that's awesome. Like,
Yeah, you also have to look at the positioning of the item. So if it's like on an angle,
Yeah,
it's
absolutely.
very easy to fall. But like if it's a painting hanging on a wall and that just comes flying off the wall,
Right.
that's a little harder.
He's already experienced that in his older home.
yo,
Oh, I
before I started liking this.
I had that I had that happen to me like 2 weeks ago. Painting came flying off my wall.
Mine was a little more personal.
Next comment that came in.
Oh, good. Yeah, for some reasons, these shows ghost hunt all hunt ghosts in the dark too. For some reason, having the lights on, being daytime, doesn't seem to make spirits less.
Less active, right?
So what you're looking for is you're looking for the veil, right? So your veil is going to be anywhere your time between 1 and 4 o'clock, I think it is.
Yeah, the closer to that range you get, the more.
The more experience.
I've
that you
seen
get.
that 3 o'clock definitively seems to be the agreed upon hour where it's the strongest. As far as when it lays between.
Well, it's not the
12 to
strongest. So your
5.
strongest, you're not looking at the strongest. You're looking at the thinnest of when your veil is going to be, where you're able to have the most
But
activity.
when I said strongest, I kind of meant activity level.
Okay, yeah. So
You
you're-
also have to keep in mind that's going to be 3 in the morning is another whole slew of things.
I know.
Because 3 is the mocking of the Holy Trinity. They say that's the devil's hour or the witching
Right.
hour. So you said stronger, the most activity. In a way, it very well could be because of what
what it is.
is.
Depending what's
Yeah.
playing off of the
Right.
the player
Mhm.
number of threes. Okay.
I mean, and that's not to say that you're not going to get paranormal activity throughout the day. You will. It's
We caught a
it's
little in
been-
daytime.
Yeah, we've
Yeah.
caught stuff in the daytime. A couple of years ago, we put in a fence around my property, and I put out to the universe, no dog is getting out of this fence unless they go through the gate.
Yep.
Not even 2 weeks later, my gate blows open. And there was no rhyme or reason as to what actually happened. Now, mind you, the dog that was closest to the gate is the one who's literally terrified of his own fart. So he farts, his soul is in Texas. Like
Yep.
he's gone, like he is nowhere close to whatever is going on. Sure enough, that gate blows right open and that dog starts to wander himself right through that gate.
Let me add a caveat to that too. So, not only is the fence at the bottom of our
We have
stairs,
security footage of this, by the way.
we have a security camera aimed right at that gate because if anybody comes in and out of my property, I want to know who and what they are. So that is motion detected. It will record prior to motion and record all the way till after motion. What had happened is the camera was recording. It noticed movement at the gate. Nothing was at the gate. The next thing you saw, there's a 5-second time skip in the recording of the video. That time skips, and the gate is actually swinging open with the latch, the 2-prong latch, down. What happens with our gate is if you put that latch up, it goes up and then sets down so it remains vertical while you open up the gate. So something had happened where that gate was unlatched, and the bars were still out, but that gate opened up, and you just saw our beagle dog take off, and that was the last we saw him for 9 hours that day?
Yeah, 9
Wow.
hours. We found him 9 minutes before sunset that day.
Yep.
1.5 miles from our house.
Yep, 1.2 miles away.
Yeah.
And like you said, like just because the veil's thinner throughout the night, closer to the 1 to 4, doesn't mean you're not going to get the activity during the day. It's very possible, but that's why us and a lot of paranormal teams go at night because it's thinner, more likely to get activity. As far as doing it in the dark,
I was just about to say. Did we touch on
light play, I would say, is
Well,
my
yeah,
big
I mean, and you're gonna see shadows better in the dark, actually, because you're gonna see if something's blocking it out completely.
Yeah, because there's two, and we've seen some things that we can't really discuss, but there are times where you will get, there's darkness, and then there's solid mass darkness.
Right.
And that's completely different in nighttime than just walking through a
Right.
dark room or something like that. If you're walking in a dark room, yeah, it could still be close to pitch black, but if there's something right in front of you, like a doorway or something, like,
It's
basically,
darker, and
Put-
it's
Right.
just, you
Put-
can
Right.
see the difference in
Right.
the dark.
yeah, put your back up against the wall in a dark room, look out into the room. You might not see much there, but you'll notice that it you can kind of sense that it's an open room.
Something's right.
Turn
right.
around and face the wall, you'll notice a different type of dark in front of your face.
Right.
And now if something that doesn't belong there is in the darkness, you'll actually see a silhouette.
And I think a good example is if you watch the first video we put out, you can see Tyler's reaction of seeing something walk behind Danny.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That room was pitch black in the
What was
basement.
behind Danny?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Probably
Probably the thing behind me.
It's very possible.
Yeah, very possible.
Because like you see me, like I'm looking and I'm focused to do something, and like I look up because like something
Catches
it
your eye.
caught my attention, and then I saw it literally move, and I pointed out, but like I wasn't even
And
like
we did
paying
that a lot
attention.
that night. Yeah, and we did that a lot last night. If we were already focusing on something else and something was catching our attention, like Tyler and I's head snapped. I mean,
My
it
head was on a
yeah, we were
swivel all
damn
night.
near snapping necks all night long to
And
look
I'll
at
make sure I add to
investigation.
that. That's my job as a skeptic. There was absolutely no light bleed from the outside world coming into that room that would play off of shadows or anything. There was no devices in our hand that were actually going to be
Right.
putting off any kind of light, other than that one time where we were Tyler was setting the spirit box off or anything like that when you actually needed to see things. At that moment, there was no light bleed in that room. That basement
light
was,
didn't cause
that
it to
light
go
was
off, though.
that light was pitch black. That room was darker than dark, and that's when you picked your head up and you saw clearly see something because
Yeah,
something
was there.
there, like I said, there's blackness and then there's pitch blackness. Where
Mhm.
the
And
complete
mass
absence of light.
blackness.
After
was
a
it.
while of being in that darkness for so long, your
You
eyes
adapt.
adjust.
Yeah, your eyes
you
adjust.
So
adapt.
we can't see the greatest in some of those rooms, but we can see. And then when something disrupts that, it's whoa. Like,
And it makes you take a step back because you're trying to rationalize as a human what you're actually seeing because yes, we're all paranormal investigators here. We've got the skeptic. I won't loop him into this, but we're raised to believe that there's no other side and everything is a certain way and this is what it is. And you have this kind of reaction to
You question everything
right,
that you were taught.
You're literally questioning everything, like rationalizing what you're seeing. Like, did I just see two red eyes staring at me? Did I just see this mass walk past the doorway? Did I just see that? Like, you have to question yourself and then think, am I sane? Am I not sane? Am I having a psychedelic trip? Like, it really is that, and it's quick thinking, too. It's not 3 or 4 seconds. I mean,
Yeah, you
it's
got to
a
make
ha-
a split decision.
Right, you're a
when that
half a
stuff
second
happens
in,
front
and
of
you're
you.
thinking, "Oh my god, I definitely just freaking saw something."
And here's the thing: like auditory and visual things can mess with you because your
Yep.
brain likes to put things that aren't there too.
there, right,
Mm.
and
Like, I
that's
know
another
when-
part of your reaction.
I
that
know
you
there
have
was
to
like
fix.
2 or 3 years ago where I was falling asleep, and you were trying to tell me that it could be voices of my dead relatives or somebody talking to me. I was having what most people call as auditory hallucinations. Just as you're at that cusp where you're about to fall asleep, you hear talking in the distance. You can't comprehend anything they're saying, but you can hear distinctly male, female, children's voices
Right.
or something like that. But just as you're falling asleep, well, how it was for me, I can't say everybody. How it was for me is I was just about to fall asleep. Just as I'm falling asleep, I would hear these auditory hallucinations, and the second you try to focus in on it, be like, "What are you saying?" goes away and disappears completely. And then it kind of makes you question your sanity. Is like, what's going on? Am I losing my mind? But
Some
Right.
people refer to that as their sleep paralysis demon.
could be.
Yeah.
But then also in the court of, now we'll move on to visual evidence. In the court of law, visual and eyewitness testimony is considered the strongest testimony that there is. I saw him do something to that person or
Right.
whatever. In science, that's the worst evidence that there is. Because time and time again,
what humans claim that they see usually is never actually the case.
Right.
So it's like you always go by, well, how our world is worked and constructed as eyewitness testimony and everything. Like that's what holds up in what rules our world. What actually exists beyond everything, when you start looking at like the science bases and everything, you start realizing our eyes are not as reliable as
Right,
we're led to believe
right.
they are. So we have to play on that too. Are we really seeing what we're seeing, or is it just something that our brain is making up?
Right.
Well, he's in, and it's a split decision. Like
Yeah,
we
exactly.
need to know what
Right.
what we're
looking
doing.
at right
And
then
I mean,
there.
I feel like we did a pretty good job at reacting to certain things opposed to other things.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
No, I think so.
I think he divided it out properly where it needed to be.
Absolutely.
All right, ladies and gentlemen. On that note, we're going to take about a 10-minute break.
We just got another comment.
Yep, let's get into this comment and then we will take a small break. Do you chaps take along dogs, cats because they can see stuff that humans cannot? Are they reliable ghost hunting tools? That's a
We
very
have
interesting
not,
question.
but if we do take a dog, I think we need to take Ariat.
I would agree.
He's very in tune with things, especially with
Well-
your friend's sister's kid with the diabetes and everything. Before her device told her that her blood sugar was going to drop low, that dog went over there and was very protective of her.
That's just their sense of smell. They can smell if somebody has
Right.
diabetes if their sugar is dropping.
So
Well,
with
he also
Ariat,
detects
yeah.
her
So
anxiety.
Yeah, that's what I
my
was about to say.
anxiety, when I was at the Selma Mansion, there was a situation, 2:00 in the morning. I was just going through it. Like, it was a rough time for me. And my girlfriend was watching my dog, Ariat, and the only reason he was there and not the others is he's a pup. He's just turning 7 months, and he just needed somebody there with him. I didn't feel comfortable leaving him with the rest of the dogs.
And he's been attached to our hip ever since. and
Right.
Throwing
so-
him in a crate
yeah,
for
he's
a few
literally
hours is not
been
a good
attached
idea.
to my hip since we've gotten him. So 2:00 in the morning the next day. Well, the next day she tells me, she's like, 2:00 last night. He would not settle down. He was up and down, barking, just going at it, like completely crazy. She's like, I let him outside. He was running to the barn where my horses are. He was running back looking for you, coming back to the house, going to the barn, going back to the house, going to the barn. So he's fully attached to everything that I do. I move, he knows about it. And if we were ever to bring a dog on an investigation, it would most likely be Ariat, if the location that we're bringing him to allows pets.
You know what that
That's another
reminds me?
thing. A lot of places probably won't. I never thought
We
that
might
was
not
in-
get the opportunity
Yeah,
to,
no,
but
right.
it's a great
Honestly,
idea.
Like, they're very sensitive, but I don't know how I would feel about bringing a dog on an
Yeah,
investigation.
just in case like if it attaches to the dog, you have no way of telling.
His attachment reminds me of something that Einstein called spooky action. In the universe, when two, I'm going to say it wrong, it's not atoms, it's the smaller particles that are tied to each other, they flip in and out of sequence.
Neutrons? Neutrons?
It's more than that. No matter the distance, could be hundreds of thousands of light years away. If one flips, the other one instantly flips. There's no delay of time, nothing. Him being tied to you, regardless of the distance, you reacted, he reacted.
Right.
Like an instantaneous connection.
Right. So, I mean, if we were ever to be able to do it, you know, Ariat would be the dog that we'd bring, but it would be in a very controlled setting. He would not be in the investigation the entire time. I would never ask him to be in that investigation the entire time.
Because it gets taxing on people, but like
Right.
a
Yeah.
dog, it's like
Yeah, that's gotta be tough.
their senses are way more heightened than
Yeah.
Yeah.
any person.
If it was, it would have to be very limited.
Right.
All right. So with
So-
that being said,
We're gonna take a
We're gonna
15-minute
take a break.
break, and we will be back shortly. Thanks, guys, for the break. We need to get up and refresh ourselves every now and then. So we are on the topic of paranormal, bringing our pets. I think we kind of finished that. Was there anything else that had popped up that?
No, that was
No,
the
that
last
was-
comment
yeah.
still, and then we kind of closed out into a break after that.
I did want to say, some people who consider their pets like active when they see changes happening to them, they consider those familiars. So like, in that sense, it's a part of your soul that has turned into an animal that is part of you.
That's funny because Glenn calls Ariat my familiar all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I just thought he calls me a witch, but realistically he means the bee version and not,
Yeah.
the witch
I
version.
haven't seen you riding your broom around lately, so.
Ah,
So to tie
Ah,
into the animals
there it is,
being
ladies and
sensitive, the animals being sensitive. I remember my brother John. He used to say that his dog would be staring at the couch for like hours on end, and then every once in a while just like watching something jump up and down on the couch.
yeah, I don't know how comfortable I'd be with that, to be honest with you. I think that would freak me the F out.
Yep.
Like, I would not be comfortable in a sense that, now, and my mind takes this a step further, is the dog watching something jump up on the couch? Are you seeing a depression in that couch? Because if there's a depression in that couch, I'm out.
Yeah,
I am out that door
the
faster
feet
than
show up, they just
whistle.
It's time to sell the
They're
couch.
either really interested in something or they're just dumb.
Yeah.
Like, air. Yes.
Or the couch
believe
attached.
Sometimes you see those people who
Stop
are
the
like
casting couch.
joking around with their dogs. They take the treat and just nod them. Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So
Well, I mean, I don't even know how to segue out of that. You guys
So,
got me on that.
We're all talking about haunted objects, right, and everything like
Right.
that. You either any of you know any of the history between like the Hope Diamond? I know that's considered to be a haunted object.
Really?
Nobody can own it because everybody who's ever owned it come to financial depression, or they've died horrible deaths, or like unsudden deaths and stuff like that. So the Hope Diamond's sitting in a museum because they consider that to be a haunted object.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
That's
Belongs
actually
on the floor.
really interesting. I'd never. knew
I didn't
that.
know the Hope Diamond was haunted either.
I don't know. It's suggested that it's haunted because of the
Oh.
reasons that nobody owns it.
Well, that might have been a curse, not a haunting.
What? If it makes you go bankrupt, what happens if you give it to a bankrupt person already? Do they get millions of dollars?
They die. I don't know. No, it's
It was-
They're just
one or
like
the
the
other.
crypto right now. They tank harder than the Titanic.
Oh.
If you're watching cryptos, you know exactly what I'm talking about.
I mean, to a sense, that's another thing that's like a well-known object. Like you said, it's either cursed or it could be a haunted object. I don't know exactly what it is.
It seems like it's cursed. If it's.
I feel like I should stop putting my phone away because I really need to look.
You need to look up the Hope Diamond.
Yeah,
right?
I need to look up. I've never heard that's been.
Yeah, I didn't hear that either. I've heard that. What is it? Is it the Hope Diamond that was that Rose wore in the Titanic? Is that what it was?
Honey,
Or-
that's fake.
No, I know, but the actual necklace.
Okay, so according to legend, a curse attends the owner of the Hope Diamond. A curse that first befell the large blue gem that was plucked or stolen from an idol in India. A curse that foretold the bad luck and death would not be only for the owner of the diamond, but all who touched it.
Now here's a
Not
question.
for nothing, but this article was written in 2020, so we're gonna take that with a grain of salt.
But that's based on truth.
So let me ask.
Nobody wants to own that thing. That's why it's sitting in a museum right now.
Now here's a genuine question. I mean, none of us will be able to answer it. But when the first person got this and they're like, "Damn, I lost all my money. Why not sell it?"
Well,
Yeah.
wasn't it an artifact? Considering she said they pulled it out of an idol in India.
First of all, it was stolen. So
Stolen.
that might have been how the curse started. So it says, according to the legend, a curse attends the owner of the Hope Diamond. A curse first befell the large blue gem when it was plucked, i.e. stolen from an idol in India. A curse that foretold the bad luck and death would not only fall the owner of the diamond, but anyone who touched it. Whether or not you believe in curses, the Hope Diamond has intrigued people for centuries. Its perfect quality, its large size, its rare color make it strikingly unique and beautiful. Its fascination is enhanced by the varied history, which includes being owned by King Louis. I think that's the 16th?
Yes.
King Louis the 16th. I'm horrible with Greek numbers, or Roman numerals, sorry. Stolen during the French Revolution, sold to earn money for gambling, worn to raise money for charity, and finally donated to the Smithsonian Institution where it resides today. The Hope Diamond is truly unique, but is there really a curse? Where did the Hope Diamond come from, and why is it such a valuable gem donated to the Smithsonian? Cartier's Legend of the Hope Diamond. Pierre Cartier was one of the famous Cartier jewelers. In 1910, he told the following story to Evelyn Walsh McLean and her husband Edward to entice them to buy the enormous rock. The very wealthy couple, he was the son of the owner of the Washington Post, she was the daughter of a successful gold miner, was vacationing in Europe when they met with Cartier. According to Cartier's story, several centuries ago, a man named Tavriana made a trip to India, where there was stole a large blue diamond from the forehead or the eye of a statue of a Hindu goddess Satya. For this transgression, according to legend, this transvarier was torn apart by wild dogs on a trip to Russia after he sold the diamond, and that was the first horrible death to attribute to the curse, said Cartier. So it looks like there's been a lot of death starting in the early 1900s. It's not. They think this was stolen from somebody in the 17th, stolen from the Hindu goddess in the 17th century. So this has obviously been going on and on and on for hundreds of years.
There's bad juju to everybody who's
Right.
owned this thing or had it.
So King Louis XVI, he bought the diamond as well as 44 other large diamonds, and he decided that he was going to send it to Russia for several volumes of some kind of book, and he ended up dying in 84, at the age of 84, when he brought it to Russia himself.
Mm-hmm.
So apparently he also recut the diamond, so that probably wasn't good.
My thing is, why not just return it to its original resting spot?
At that point, they probably had no idea where it originally came from.
Yeah.
I mean, as far as its original point where it came from, I mean, that could be, 20% true at this point.
Mm-hmm.
The original thief isn't going to disclose, I stole this from some statue over there or anything like that. I mean, they're going to say, hey, look at this valuable gem I got, and give me money for it. That's it.
Right, and anybody who went and took stones or anything out of Egypt with the pyramids, I'm sure whatever curse befell them. I mean, the curse even there is not necessarily a curse from what they're saying. The curse is they're opening old tombs that have not been opened for centuries, and there's bacteria, and there's all sorts of things that are living in there that.
Well, it's more mold than fungus.
Right,
is what
mold
they're
and fungus
contributing to.
that kill people. So it's not necessarily that you opened a tomb and now you're cursed. No, you opened a tomb with a ton of bacteria and it's going to kill you.
Well, didn't they recently, or like within the last year or so, find an old virus, I think they said over 100,000 years old in the
Yeah,
Arctic?
very well. Jesus.
Like, it defrosted and was, attached to a worm.
Yep. So curses could just very well be mold. if you break it down, if you're looking at that.
Now's not the time to be playing.
Yeah, sorry. The puppy has a new toy and he's super interested in playing with it.
Well, isn't that how they usually, according to what they say with witches, they would use moss and mold and stuff like that and fungus?
I don't know of any moss that would kill somebody. I'm also not that savvy when it comes to plants and things like that. I don't know. It could very well be. I don't know a witch to ask, to be honest with you, so I wouldn't even know how to answer that.
I could ask some.
Yeah, I'm sure. Oh, that's right. You know one.
What I do?
The puppy is very interested in playing with that ball, and Glenn is just not letting him. Glenn's not playing under the table. He's just trying to get the puppy to leave him alone.
Now, here's a question for you guys, and I think I know what Glenn's answer would be for this. How would you guys feel about kind of doing something like the Warrens did? We do these investigations, and maybe not necessarily haunted objects, but objects.
We are
that,
not keeping objects in this house.
I didn't say it had to be here.
I'm
You
just
You
saying.
can rent the storage room.
What do you think? Like a.
I'm not paying money to store it either. Like,
You want to keep it? Go ahead. All you, boo boo. You go. You
Oh, hold on.
not-
We're jumping down his throat. Let him finish his train of thought here.
I mean, obviously, that anything like that would be when we're more established and maybe we can afford like a shop or
Oh,
something.
so you're telling us you want to open a museum yourself?
Yeah, I mean, why not? But like Glenn, when we went to the Summer Mansion, he got the shirt for the team as kind of like a souvenir, I guess. you
That's
could
exactly
say.
why I got it. Yeah.
So something along those lines, but more.
Showcase where we've been and things of that nature.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, as we build up our repertoire and everything like that.
and, maybe an occasional haunted item or two.
He says it as he's drinking something to be like, oh, it's.
Hey, he's being coy. He's like, oh, one or two opponents.
I think in that situation, the best thing to do is wait till we get a bigger following and have more room.
That
And
could build the following.
When we have our own podcast room and we're not filming it out of my dining room, which has been completely taken over by all things paranormal.
Why are we still eating here?
So, yeah, as we're sitting here going over evidence, like, that's how we eat. Like, literally,
It'd be
there
like
was
that.
just a pizza on this table not even 2 hours ago.
It'd be like that.
It'd be like
Monday,
that, though.
Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
We didn't drink and sink for that, but that's true. We're here a lot. We're here quite a bit. But I've definitely thought of like renting an office space or something, just so that we could just do it there and not have the constant distractions of the dogs and everything that's going on around us. But that's to come in the future when we're not so broke. We have a comment. I
Yeah, we
believe.
got a comment.
What do we got here? Is it true that if you don't give entities any acknowledgement, no attention, you completely ignore it, feel no fear or any negative emotion, they can't hurt you, and they remain weak and powerless?
Well, I mean, as far as the skeptic goes, that's true.
Yeah, I mean, they never do anything. I'm gonna go see if I can get rid of him and
I mean,
go play out in the yard or something real quick.
even with negative emotion, if you give negative emotion, that just gives them place to latch on to you.
Yeah.
So,
With not paying them attention, I don't know if that's like in the back of your mind. It's just like, oh, I just don't feel well. Not that, oh, it's something attached to me.
That was not my thought process when I was at the
Thank you.
mansion. I was like, oh my god, I'm exhausted. I can't get warm. What the hell's going on with me?
yeah, so, I mean, it could help, but something that wants to latch on or attach, it's gonna start off so minimal. You're not even gonna notice it right away most times. Like when, I think I didn't start really feeling it until 2 weeks after, right? And then,
I am curious about that. Is that something that it builds up to get your attention, leading into what the question's asking here?
yeah.
But is there a point to where if you don't pay it any attention, it loses the ability to gain your attention?
I don't think so.
Yeah, I would say
I
that's too
mean-
hard to judge.
By ignoring it as much as possible, it could definitely limit its power. But like I said, I didn't.
If it wants to, it wants to.
I didn't acknowledge it for 2 weeks, and then all of a sudden I started getting irritated a lot. Constant mood swings, like completely pissed off one moment, and then 10 seconds later it's like nothing ever happened.
Yep.
Completely tired. So it just started happening. And it probably started off so minimal I didn't even catch on to it.
We're also
or
very
feel it. And then as time went on, was slowly feeding, and then it was like, you know what, we're gonna take a whole piece of the pie now. Like, just dove right in.
The one night when we were doing review, you were also very fidgety. Like,
Yeah, that's exactly what he's talking about.
yeah.
I'm not normally like a super fidgety person. Like I might like curl my thumbs or keep my hands busy, but like
you were exhausted. You had your hat on, your hoodie over your
I was
head.
freezing.
You're stabbing the pen back and in out of the cap and constantly and everything, and just your mannerisms, everything about you is not who you typically are. And I looked right at you, I'm like, Tyler, go home, go to sleep.
Yeah.
And she was like, yeah, say your prayers and everything like that. And that's
Oh, she yelled at me to be positive.
yeah.
Well, yeah, because you're sitting there making the atmosphere dark. We had a comment pop
Yeah, we have a Facebook comment.
Has anything followed any of you home? If so, what did you do? How do you protect yourself from something evil?
Great question because we're talking about that
We're
right
talking
now.
about that right now. Go ahead, start it off.
So yes, our last investigation from the Selma Mansion, which we do have 2 videos up from there now. So if you guys didn't see it, definitely check it out. Emily and myself both left with an attachment.
Something.
Um,
Dry humping our last nerve.
Putting it lightly, very nicely. So, like I just said, literally right before this comment came through, like
Yep.
I didn't even pick up on it at first. Started getting irritable, but it didn't even register. And then by me having those mood swings, I'm like more negativity, and it just kept feeding and feeding. And then I'm like, something is not
Your buttons were easily pushed. there-
easily.
and there's
1 and
things
1
that I
is
can-
not equaling 2 at this point.
And I can,
Exactly.
and there's a lot of time, like you and I, we constantly joke. We, we're
Oh, I
always
was not
busting chops
taking
and everything like
any
that.
of your jokes.
And there was times where you said it, like I was sending you things that I would normally, bust your chops over, and you're like, I'm getting actually angry at you with these things. I'm like, all right, well, that's not my fault. You got to take care of your stuff over here. So,
I mean,
I care deeply about him. It's not his fault. No, it's your fault. Take care of it. It's your fault.
but lead
I-
into with your
it's-
acknowledgement and everything.
So after like the acknowledgement, actually shortly before the acknowledgement, I did meet with some psychics, and they told me an attachment was coming down the line. I don't think they meant 2 days later, but sure enough, they gave me like, I can't even think of the name of it. It's like holy wood. They gave me holy wood. They gave me Florida water. They gave me all these different crystals and rocks and protections. They gave me something, I think it was from Saint Archangel or Saint Benedict Archangel, and then they gave me something for Saint Michael, and they gave me all this other stuff. They gave me something for Guardian Angels, and they put it all together, and then essentially I saged every night for a week. I said the prayers to Saint Michael and my Guardian Angels every night for a week. I sprayed myself with holy water before a shower, after I got out of the shower, when I woke up in the morning. Like I was like, it was like full protection mode at that point.
You're doing everything you possibly can.
Oh yeah, I was done with it. I was after I realization hit. I'm like, no, we're not playing this game anymore. But yeah, it took a solid week. Well, 3 days I started to feel normal, but I feel like a solid week for everything to feel
Carry out, leave it.
good again. And then since then, I'm still saying the prayer to the Guardian Angels every night. I don't know the prayer off the top of my head, but I'm going to say a prayer to my Guardian Angels. Please come down, look over, and protect me. And then I say the prayer, and everything's been smooth sailing so far. But
Now, I'm just curious, do you have a mental time frame lock, or do you think you're just going to make that part of your every night ritual?
that's going to be my every night ritual.
Okay.
Absolutely. Like the prayer to the Guardian Angels, that's not like Saint Michael. That's something you were gonna call on to fight the demon, slay it down. So I'm not gonna call on him every night, and he's gonna get tired of me and be like,
Yeah.
"Stop!" He's gonna start slaying me.
Yeah, it's like the kid who cried wolf. Like, there's nothing
Yeah.
here.
Yeah. So after I think it was 6 or 7 days, about the week, I stopped saying the prayer to him. Only when I feel something really trying to pull, will I call on him. But the Guardian Angels, I feel like all of us should honestly do that. That wouldn't, it doesn't hurt. And then you're getting more protection. You're And I feel like by doing that, you're building rapport with them, in a sense. Like you're calling them down to overlook. You're acknowledging them, and
Well, they're your guides. They're
Yeah.
there to help you, and you need to acknowledge your guides so
Yeah,
that they
and I-
understand that there is some kind of communication.
I don't mean to be corny, but you think it's like creating a bond or something
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
that? Okay.
building rapport.
Mhm.
And I mean, I felt good since that. Like it was like after like the 5th day, it was like I feel
Better.
golden. Like
Yeah, there was one day where you particularly texted us and you're like, "Hey guys, I feel great today."
I woke up. I'm like 4 hours of sleep. I'm like I feel fantastic.
Well, even if I forget, the full moon, was that after the Summer Mansion?
2 days after.
Yeah.
I couldn't sleep for like 4 days.
Yeah.
And full moons always mess with me like that, so it probably was something draining me.
And it was a pink
I
full moon
jumped
too.
to
It was,
the
a,
full moon,
it was a rarer version of the full moon.
which probably didn't help.
Nope.
Bug just went out. Yep.
Yep.
So, I mean, honestly, the weirdest part of that, and I've told you guys, all of you guys, this, after the first night I did the sage, I said the prayer to Saint Michael, the guardian angels, the Florida water. I don't know if it was a dream or if I woke up and just had a vision. I genuinely don't remember, and I didn't remember after it happened, like, what it was. But I envisioned it was me, and then there was, like, this black thing latching onto me, kind of like Venom. Like, latching onto me, the host, and it was, like, looked like it was being pulled
You
off.
mean Venom
but,
from Spider-Man?
yeah.
Okay.
And it was not letting go. It was, like, latched on all down my left side, and then I
Which
was...
is a demonic side, by the way.
and my whole left side was sore. It was so. It felt like I got hit by a truck on this side. And I'm like, that's weird. I had the vision, and I woke up, and it's like I didn't want to move that side at all. It's like if I could just go to work with my right half, that would be great. But that to me was the weirdest part because I've never experienced that before.
Right.
Like that to me, I feel like I saw what it was.
Have you ever experienced anything like that, Frankie?
Attachment wise, no.
Yeah,
I
okay.
mean, I've
Lucky you. Hopefully you don't.
I've had nights where I'll be laying in my bed and like it just you feel like there's,
Leave it.
as I put it, I said I feel like Satan is standing in my bedroom.
Should
Like,
probably do something about that.
he's like a
You
very
might want to give him some
dark
prayers or
person,
something.
and that's when I like I'll call him my grandfather, because my grandfather was a big inspiration to me, and I
it's also
see
your
him all the
protector
time.
and-
Yeah, I see him all the time. So I call to my grandfather, and within minutes, it usually goes away.
Guardian
Okay.
angel.
Yeah, exactly. A guardian angel, so to speak.
I mean, my attachment was that night.
You experienced it a lot quicker than I did, which is why I partially think well, you said yours felt like the place we were at, didn't it? Like
Yeah.
it felt like a similar energy. Mine didn't.
So, as I mentioned earlier in the podcast, 2 o'clock that night, I went completely out. My whole body checked out, in fact. I was so cold, I could not get warm. And they had a space heater on me. I had my jacket on. I had a blanket on me. They took the thermal to see what temperature I was at. I think my jacket was registering 109 degrees. And
Yeah,
I
you were actually warm because you had the space heater
Right.
on your side. I put the thermal on. You said 109 degrees, so your surroundings were not cold.
Yeah, I was genuinely cold to the bone.
And I think I can put the thermal imaging gun on you too, just to see. Because I'm sitting here, I'm like, if she's cold, let's see if the surroundings are cold.
Right.
Nope, that's almost white. That's she's warm.
Yeah, so I was warm temperature around me, but my whole body was just completely cold. And that's something that I know started to hurt. Like, I was getting worn out. And I wasn't tired, worn out either. Like, I just felt mentally exhausted.
That's the best way to put it. Like, you don't want to do anything.
Right.
Either.
And I had my head down on the table. I mean, I was like balls to the wall in that investigation. Like, every time everybody was up, I was there doing something. Or I was listening through evidence. I was doing something. But the second I started to get cold, my head is on the table, my hoodie's up, I'm trying to get warm, and it just wasn't happening. They ended up sending me to the car halfway through the night, and I stayed there until the end of the investigation. I didn't sleep. I was literally just wide awake watching the whole thing. And we get in the car to go home. Glenn starts driving a little bit. I see him start to get tired. I'm like, all right, well, let me take a turn. And the further I got away from the Selma mansion, the better I felt. Now, I started just kind of saying some prayers to some angels, to my guardians, saying, hey guys, if there's something up, wipe it off. Like, I got things to do today. And went about my business. And about a week later, I had a meeting with my animal communicator, Jean Rockefeller. And she said to me, she's like, God, she's like, there is something on you. She's like, it's not good. She's like, what did you do? So I told her about the investigation. And she's like, we got to clear this out of you. She's like, this is going to be rough. She said, you're going to feel lightheaded today. You're going to feel kind of drained at the end of the day, all of this kind of stuff. And she's like, and I'm feeling like Tyler has something attached to him, because I told her who had gone with me. And she's like, well, if he starts to feel lightheaded, you let me know, and, you know, that should take place. And I told Tyler that day, hey, Jean tried to clear something out of you, so if you feel lightheaded, that's something that's leaving. Well, Tyler's response back to me, no, I feel fine.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah.
whatever was there clearly did not get cleared out by Jean the way it was for me. And it wasn't until like 2 days after that I actually started to get like a normal body temperature back.
Yeah, and whatever was, following Tyler because it loved him so much, it's almost like it was keeping its distance just far enough away, staking it out more or less.
That's what it felt like.
You got cleared. Whatever Gene did to help clear you, it was kind of like, is this fence on? Yeah, he's being cleared right now. I'm going to keep out. And then everything calmed down, or everybody was led to believe it was calmed down. And it's like, hey, buddy.
I didn't feel lightheaded at all.
Exactly.
Until that first night I
hold
saged and said,
Right.
once I said that prayer to St. Michael, I was like, whoa. Like, it wasn't like an overwhelming lightheaded dizziness, but I was like, it was enough to like completely acknowledge it, like, and I felt lighter.
Mm-hmm.
But then, like, the next couple nights, I saged, and then as I was, like, after I was done saging, I sat down to eat, and this was really the last straw I had with it. I sat down to eat after I saged, sprayed myself with the Florida water, and kind of like you did, it felt like something was hovering over my back, just chilling there. And I got up out of that chair, I'm like, you need to get out. I'm done playing. Like, you need to go. Because after that first night, it's like, it was its last resort. Like, it felt like it knew it.
Yeah.
Like, he knows now.
It's like a squatter. He knows it's the last night in the house. The cops
Oh, it wasn't his last night.
Yeah.
Because the following night, I felt cold as I was saging. Once I finished saging, because I went from one house, met at the middle where my door is, to the other house, met in the middle, and pushed it all out the door on the patio. And then after I did that, it was like, I felt light. I wasn't cold after I did it, only during that stage. And then the next day, I'm like, good. And then the following day, I'm like, I feel great. I'm like, I can conquer the world right now. But there was nights I slept 10, 12 hours, and I woke up more tired than when I went to bed.
Yeah.
Which is not okay.
Yeah, it was hard for you to regenerate.
I think Glenn scared his attachment away with that story he told us that one night.
Oh yeah, Glenn. Did you tell Emily that story?
I told her, I told you guys that night when I was sitting out in the driveway. I'll share with the viewers. So, full disclosure, I tend to have some of the craziest dreams. Like, these would be great movies if I could ever remember to write them down. But, with that being said, after we had just got done doing the investigation, a few nights after that or something, I can't even say what I was trying. No, actually I can. There's one part in the investigation that you will see in an upcoming video where I am definitely trying to debunk something that I thought I saw or had captured on a device or what have you. You'll notice that we're doing the investigation, and here's Glenn off to the left side of the screen, looking like he's crazy. He's backing up. He's doing things. You'll notice it when you see it. Because I wasn't ready to say anything until I could either replicate what I had thought I caught or whatever, what have you. So I think that tied into a dream where I was dreaming that we were in some kind of house. I was taking pictures, trying to capture something on a camera, like, get over here, I want to try and get your picture so I can capture proof. And it was this dark figure that just kept, like, every time I took a picture, it would move, it would run or something like that. And I got tired of it moving. I'm like, you know what, you don't want to be caught. So I just grabbed it, threw it in the closet, closed the closet door, jammed the chair underneath the door, and walked away, and I was done with it. So that's the story I told all of you.
And him jamming and throwing it in the closets makes me think he locked it away.
And if Frankie's like, yeah, he's like, you just wasn't having this, more or less. But other than that, like, I didn't have any of the feelings of what the two of you are describing as far as what attachment is.
Our
Well-
aura is also a lot brighter,
Mhm.
so it's gonna pull it in a lot quicker.
We're
and
magnets for this stuff. Like, we literally, if there was a flashing neon sign for open to eat,
It's like a moth into the flame.
right?
Yeah, I mean the best way to explain it is like, we're gonna go back to a dark room, complete darkness. If they're just seeing nothing but darkness, and then me and Emily walk in a room, it's like, well, light, I'm going.
It's like a cat with a laser pointer.
Yeah.
Basically,
You guys at a laser pointer,
And-
and all of a sudden, whatever's in there is like, ooh, laser, jumps on top.
Yeah, and I mean they're gonna gravitate towards that because they know when the spirit sees that, they know we can communicate. Like, I think that's a huge reason why whenever we were in a room, that's when it was most active. That's a paragraph.
That's a paragraph
All
and a
right.
half.
Let me read
There's
this.
a comment above that too, I think.
No, that's,
No, that's
the
the same
last
one
one.
from before.
Was it okay?
Yeah, let me read this essay here. So, ever heard of jinns at all? Jinns being spirits who inhabit an unseen world in dimensions beyond the visible universe of humans. Together, the jinn, humans, and angels make up the sentient creations of God. The Quran mentions that the jinns are made of smokeless or scorched fire, and they have the physical property of weight like humans. The jinn can also be good, evil, neutral, benevolent, or neutrally benevolent, and hence have free will like humans, and unlike angels. So yes, I think we're all familiar with what jinns are.
Yeah, that's where that's where it started. Where spirits started. They started out as jinns, and then as they continued, they learned more and more.
Can you dive more deeply into that?
That's about the extension I know.
Okay,
of
because
that.
that sounds very vague. I was just only asking.
So, a jinn, it's actually jinni, or plural jinn, or also called genie. Arabic mythology, a supernatural spirit with the level of angels and devils. A ghoul is also known as a class of jinn. Jinns are beings of flame or air who are capable of assuming human or animal form and are said to dwell in all conceivable inanimate objects, stones, trees, ruins, under the earth, in the air, and in fire. They possess the bodily needs of a human being and can even be killed, but they are free from all physical restraints. Jinn delight in punishing humans for any harm done to them, intentionally or unintentionally, and said to be responsible for many diseases of all kinds of accidents. However, those humans being knowing the proper magical procedures can exploit the jinn in their advantage. Belief in jinns was commonly in early Arabia, where they were thought to inspire poets and soothsayers. Even Muhammad originally feared that his revelations might be the work of jinn. Their experience was further acknowledged in the official Islam, which indicated that they are, like human beings, would have to face eventual salvation or damnation. Jinn, especially through their associations with the magic, have always been favorite figures in North African, Egyptian, Syrian, Persian, and Turkish folklore, and in the center of an immense popular literature appearing notably in The 1001 Nights. In India and Indonesia, they are entered local Muslim imaginations by the Quranic descriptions of the Arabic literature.
They're also known to be like tricksters and everything like that too.
Some people confirm them as elementals. is
I
what
think they
say.
can be
That would make
confused
sense.
with elementals, yeah.
That would
Especially
make sense
with
then.
being of scorched earth and fire and
Yeah.
things like that, yeah.
Some people call them elementals, but
Yeah.
Hopefully we never come across one of those.
You never know.
you don't want to come across an elemental. That's bad.
No, elementals and jinns, either one.
Oh. Supposedly, in Greek mythology, an elemental can kill you on sight if it wants to.
I think when we touched base on that the last podcast, you two brought that up.
Yeah, we touched on it.
So back to the beacon of light that you two say that you are and everything like that. So, are you saying it's impossible for someone like myself
No.
or
No.
Frankie or
No.
I don't know what your light is. We
But-
haven't brought you on an investigation, so sorry I
Like-
made that assumption that you.
So
don't
basically,
have.
picture that light being how sensitive you are in a sense.
Okay.
The more sensitive, the more in tune you are, the brighter it's ultimately going to be to them.
Does your level of brightness, or however we're going to put that, also come out of your level of belief? Like, I believe in this stuff, so I'm wide open
I don't-
to accept
I don't
it.
think
yeah, I
so.
don't.
I don't think so.
Okay.
I think it's just focused more towards like gifted people.
Okay.
Like a lot of sidekicks have it, mediums.
Because I can view it as like I'm open-minded, but I'm closed off. Like I don't really believe it's there, so it might be like, yeah, this guy doesn't believe me or whatever.
like-
but those guys, hey, they're bright over there. They're gifted, but also
And
they're
like-
here. They believe in this stuff, so it's easy to get their attention.
Yeah, and like I'm not saying that I have an arm because I genuinely don't know. I can't see it.
Well, you're-
This is stuff that I'm being told from other people.
And not only that, you can kind of validate it one way or another by the level of activity the two of you were getting.
Mm-hmm.
It also can come down to experiences and experience over time and witnessing what's going on and understanding it more.
Yeah,
And knowing
like,
how
the light
to-
starts off either off or dim, and
Yeah.
then it turns up brighter and brighter and brighter.
There-
the more exposed you get to it, the more you.
Think of it as chakra, as some people would say. You have certain levels of chakra in your body, and there's no off. It's always there. It's just low. So,
You have
everyone-
7 chakras.
yeah.
Everyone has some kind of psychic ability. It's just whether or not they tap into it.
Mhm.
Okay.
That's
So hopefully we touched base on your question there. I know we kind of went on a tangent, but
Yeah.
we definitely wanted to get in on that and make sure we interacted accordingly.
I think it might be time to call it for the night then.
I was gonna say, if you want to go back to the main topic of haunted items, we can talk about the Japanese suicide forest.
I don't know if that would be considered a
That's more of a location.
yeah, that's more of a location than
The island of dolls too. Like, yeah, there's a lot of dolls. Some of them might have like some kind of like haunted attachment, but it's like the land.
I'm going off of memory of the story. I think you touched base on it earlier. Was it the death of a young girl that triggered this guy to start thinking that he was appeasing a girl spirit, or did it start off with a haunted doll of the girl? That
No,
led
I
him?
think it started off as the girl, he was appeasing it, but then he started getting dolls that would start to get possessed.
And
Okay.
isn't there somewhere in the story that he got a doll that was like the exact likeness of the girl, and that doll disappeared within a few days?
I don't know.
I don't remember that part.
I
I
don't either.
have no idea.
But then again, I'm not well versed on that story either. I just remember what
'Cause
I
I-
remember from seeing it on the show.
I know they say if you have something that was like a child who passed on that's either got like a part of them hair, gross nails,
I don't
teeth,
know
whatever, that they can be attached to that as well.
I have no idea.
That's interesting. Anybody have any stories on attachments to human remains?
Mm-mm.
That might be worth looking into.
Besides for graveyards.
Well, yeah, I mean that's an obvious one.
Yeah.
We can kind of overlook that one to a degree. Speaking of graveyards, won't we be visiting one before we go to the Conjuring House?
Probably very soon.
Yeah.
Maybe next weekend.
Okay. Oh no, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about
Another witch.
yeah.
Oh,
Probably not.
Why not?
I'm down to
Probably
go.
not.
Okay.
Anyway, I think we're calling it a night, right? I think we're wind down. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us on our fourth ever podcast. We are some of the members of Spectral Realm Investigators.
Ava and Jesus. Jesus working, and Ava's taking care of a sick daughter tonight.
Jesus will hopefully start joining the podcast in June, so you guys can meet him as well.
Yeah, we're definitely eager to have him on here because
Yeah.
he's a very valuable member of the team as well.
Absolutely is.
Do we want to mention before we go all of the people who've joined the page since you guys have opened it up? How many followers and such?
We're
yes.
reaching almost 2,000 followers, so we
Yep.
want to thank everybody for joining and following along.
We just surpassed 1,700 tonight, so
Wow.
thank you all for that.
Huge milestone.
That's
Yeah.
huge.
We were at like
We were at like 500.
940 a week
yeah,
ago.
Yeah, we were really low a week ago. We were just looking at like 500 members a week ago.
Yep.
Or followers. So again, thank you for following us along. Please like, share, comment. All
Follow
of
our
our
YouTube
all of our
videos.
YouTube videos, our Facebook posts, everything like that. As I said, we are the members of Spectral Realm Investigators. Thank you so much for joining us tonight, and we hope you have a wonderful week. And we'll see you again 7 o'clock every week, bar no issues with any lives or anything. We will see you Eastern Standard Time.
Have a
Bye,
great
guys.
evening.
Have a good night.